Hey everybody. I came across an interesting revelation the other night while I was doing my Bible study, and I read a story about Jesus that I have read many times. It was the time when they set off across the sea to go to Capernaum after feeding a large crowd, and they were just going over to Capernaum. And when the disciples got in the boat, the waters got really rough, and they were about 3 to 4 miles off the coast. It's actually in John chapter 6, verse 16 through 21. And what was interesting is that I have seen many times where it has said, the disciples saw Jesus walking out to the boat across the sea, and this was during a huge storm. So this in itself was a miracle because he's walking across water. Well, I've heard this story many times. He's walking across the water, and the disciples, they get him in the boat, and the storm just goes away. And it's a great, I love this story. The part that has captured my attention, because I don't think I've really paid attention to this one little word and this one little event that happened right afterwards. After it says in verse 19 that they, first of all, you have to realize they're like 3 to 4 miles away from the shore, and then they see Jesus coming out. They see him, he's walking across the water, and he says in verse, I believe it's 20, I have it written down so I don't forget. In verse 20, he says, "It is I, don't be afraid." And that's a whole sermon on its own. But right after that, it says that the disciples took him in. They were willing to receive him, and they took him in, and immediately the storm stopped. Well, the storm stopped. But interesting, in verse 21, and I have this written down so I don't get the words incorrect, I don't want to mess them up, and this is out of the NIV version. It says, "Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading." It didn't take them a while. It happened immediately. And they were on their way to Capernaum. So they were a little far off. They were a little far away from the shore. But as soon as they received him in, immediately they were on the other side. So just think about that. It's a word for you to ponder today. Some scripture for you to ponder today. Just remember that when we are in the midst of the turmoil, once we're willing to receive Jesus into our lives and take him into our homes and just keep him with us, immediately we're going to be on the other side. We still have to deal with other things, and we still have to deal with some of the circumstances, but when we're going through the rough waters, he is going to lead us through when we have those rough waters. When the fires surround us and the waters engulf us, he will lead us through. It's a promise he has in Isaiah. I will have to find that verse for you for another day. But I want you to look at John chapter 6, verse 16 through 21, and notice what happened. And look at those key words that show time. And immediately, the word immediately shows time. So go and look at that and ponder on that, how he says, "It is I, don't be afraid." They were willing to receive him in, and immediately, they reached the other side. So you guys have a wonderful day. God bless.